Hello students. Now that English exam is over, I'm sure you must be all bubbling with energy to know how far you had gone correct in your answering the questions. So today we are here to discuss the answers of the question paper, and I'm discussing the question paper which came outside Delhi region, set 2 and 3. So here I go. I'll start with the reading section first. In the reading section, as you all know, you had two passages. So I'll start with the answers of first passage. The first passage was about fossil fuels, in which you had to answer 10 questions. So I'll start with the answer of the first question. Which of the following statement best describes the difference between renewable energy sources and alternate energy sources? So the answer to this was your option B. Renewable energy sources are inexhaustible, whereas alternative energy sources could be exhaustible. Now we come to question number 2. What is the tone of the writer in the given lines from para 4? Rationalize your response in about 40 words. Okay. Now since the narrator is talking about something which is already existing, so it can be your assertive tone, and he is also very positive. So tone can be both assertive as well as positive. And then of course you could have explained in 40 words why do you think that it is an assertive and positive tone, because he's thanking that because of the increase in the demand for more energy, developers had gone for coming up with renewable technologies. Fine. Now we come to question number 3. Complete the sentence appropriately. In the past, alternate energy sources were not used much by the consumers because, and the answer is, it was too expensive for practical use. Now part 4. The passage includes some words that are opposite of each other. From the sets A to E below, identify two sets of antonyms. And your answer to this was sustainable and exhaustible, and the other one, because you had to identify two that were antonyms, one is sustainable and exhaustible, and the other one was exhaustible and inexhaustible. Now we come to part 5. Who is the leader of renewable energy pact and why? So the passage says the leader is wind energy, and why? Because it is versatile and it is very dynamic. Now we come to part 6. Based on the reading of the passage, examine in 40 words the difference between geothermal energy and electricity. So you had very clear passage, and all the points were also very directly mentioned. So you could have written very easily. The main point I am discussing here is that geothermal energy is generated from underground hot water, whereas hydroelectricity is generated from dam water. So this question was very direct, but yes, you needed to answer in 40 words. So I have everyone has answered the question in 40 words. Okay, now question 7. What's the message conveyed by the passage? And the message, according to the given passage, the message is alternate energy sources are the emerging energy trends and are still evolving. Part 8. State whether the following statement is true or false. And your answer to this question is false, because what they have written is it is used for both residential as well as commercial purpose, which is not true in the given context. Now we come to passage 2, which is about scouts and guides around the world. Okay, so now here we are with the first question. Infer one reason for the following based on the information given in paragraph 4. Colorful badge was sewn onto the uniform and bags of the scouts. Well, so this was done. So why? According to the passage, to celebrate the completion of 100 years or to mark the completion of 100 years. Now from para 1, we can infer that scout movement was set up, and the answer to this is to help young people achieve their full potential. Part 3. Complete the following analogy. You had 100 years to decade. So your answer to 10 years to decade. So 100 years will be century. Now after reading the passage, bring a contrast between the books Aids to Scouting and Scouting for Boys. Okay, so now the passage says aids to scouting is about searching and keeping watch. Whereas scouting for boys, the book emphasized on outdoor activities. So anything which you have written and which supports the given statement will be giving you marks. Now coming to part 5, what does the writer mean by the phrase one word, one promise? So the appropriate answer is of course universal commitment. But yes, if you have written anything other than this and the answer is apt, you will be awarded marks by CBSE. Now coming to part 6, according to the chart, which country took maximum time to introduce guiding after scouting? And the answer to this is Thailand. Now part 7, list 2 reasons why a flame was lit at Bedwell Powell's grave in 2007. So you had to write 2 reasons because the question carries 2 marks. And to this, your first answer is to celebrate the 150th anniversary, and the second reason is in this place in Kenya, he spent the last few years. Okay. So now coming to 8th part, fill in the blanks by selecting the correct option. The establishment of Scout movement from 1907 to 2006 showed dash results, and according to the given options, your answer is encouraging. Okay, so I hope now you are clear with the answers of reading section. Now I move on to section B, grammar, and in grammar you had to do any 10, but I will be discussing all the 12. So now fill in the blank by using the correct form of the word. Now in this particular part 1, your answer is organize. Why? Because after verb always takes first form. So you did not have changed the form, so it should have been the school would organize. Okay. Now coming to part 2, the salad prepared. It should be past tense. Here it is written the salad prepared. So the editing will be prepare will be changed into prepared. Now coming to part 3, it is about reporting Maria's question. How has this volunteer work impacted your life? And according to the reported speech, the answer should be how that volunteer work had impacted their life. Now read the dialogue between Karan and Matt regarding his class club, and the answer to this was in MCQ form, and the correct answer is part B, what led him to join. Now we come to part 5. Fill in the blank by choosing the correct option, and out of these options your answer is these. Why? Because it is written enclosed are the updated project guidelines. Now with guidelines you should be using these, not this. Okay, then part 6, identify the error and supply the correct option. So here also the last word Indian cuisine, it should have been in plural form, you should add S. So according to the given statement, our restaurant serves authentic Indian foods celebrating the diversity of Indian cuisines. Okay, now coming to part 7, my pet dog are very playful. Oh, this question is very kiddish, no doubt. But yes, I think you must have selected the correct option. It should be C, where we are changing R into is. Okay, now part 8. Participating in the marathon for charity had me feeling. So, part A is the correct answer. Feeling humbled by the power of collective effort in driving meaningful change. Okay, now 9th part is again reported speech. And the answer to this is, the customer confirmed this observation, mentioning that he had just returned from vacation. Now fill in the blank by choosing the correct option, that is your 10th part, and the answer to this is C part, clinched. So our school's basketball team clinched the district championship. Now 11th, complete the line for self-awareness song, and since seagulls and sky. So that means we have 2 things, and therefore your answer should be A, signal. And the 12th part is identify the error and supply the correction. So here your answer should be, instead of traffics, it should be traffic. Why? Because website, it is always traffic, not traffics. Fine. So I hope with this you have understood the answer for your A and B part. Now I come to simple explanation of what your writing skills demanded. Okay, in the writing skill you got the question related to making of one letter to the principal of such school providing details of what you had noticed over the past few weeks. Okay, so as we have already discussed, in your writing skill for letter, you had to take note of your format, and of course after that all the details pertaining to the letter, and of course you will be marked according to the CBSE rubrics, that is format, fluency, accuracy and grammatic. Okay, and likewise for your analytical paragraph also, you had to give the correct format. I hope everyone has written the heading and then started with the paragraph, highlighting all the important percentages which has been mentioned specifically, with of course all those expressions and phrases which we had discussed. Okay, so I hope in creative writing skills all of you must have done well. Now with that I move on to the literature section. For that, I'll take a little break for the literature section. And in literature section, which I found was the most easiest one. Why? Because all the questions had been given by CBSE directly. There was no question which we can say was out of the given syllabus or which made you think that it was very tough. Why? Because the questions were very expected. And I'm sure that all of you must have done very well in the RTCs, which carry 10 marks, which we have already been practicing, and your long answer questions which demanded segregation of the answer in 3 paragraphs. So I hope all of you have done well in this particular literature section, which is of course carrying the highest weightage of 40 marks. So I hope everyone has done justice to this part. I will be giving you the value points of literature questions also. So here we begin with question number 6. So question number 6, of course you had a choice and you had to take any one of the given RTC. So read the Okay, so now we come to question number 6. Read the following extracts and answer the questions for any one of the given two. So A part was naturally from the chapter Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. So what you infer from the following statement, the inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. And the answer to this is that in terms of international significance, Mandela's inauguration drew attention from all over the world. Various heads of states, dignitaries and leaders from different countries attended the ceremony, making it the largest gathering of international leaders on South African soil. Okay, now coming to part 2, explain in 40 words the effective shift from white supremacy to a rainbow gathering. This question, of course, since it carries 2 marks, I hope you must have answered it in 40 words. Of course, I'm sharing with you the main points. It was after years of struggle that is anti-racist party came into power. Until then, the seat had always been occupied by white presidents, and that is why the expression white seat, fine. And then he called the ceremony as rainbow gathering because it was a gathering of different color and nations, and the gathering symbolized the dawning of democratic and non-racial government of South Africa, fine. And the next question they had asked you, which phrase would correctly substitute pleasantly besieged in the given stanza? And your answer was happily surrounded by. Pleasantly, we can have the synonym for pleasantly is happily, and besieged means surrounded by, right? And fourth part says state whether it is true or false, and your answer to this is false. Now we come to B part, and this is of course from the chapter from the diary of Anne Frank. So first part says, state any one inference about and from the given context. Anyone would ramble on and leave big spaces between the word, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments. Of course, now from this very statement of Anne, we can make out that she was very mature, very logical. And of course, she understood the things very deeply. And she knew that unnecessary writing will not help her to come out of the problem. She had to do something which will convince her teacher. Okay, I hope everyone has done your answer like this only, writing it in the lines of the explanations I have just now given you. Now coming to the next question. Which of the following best describes the tone? The tone answer is persuasive. And why is it persuasive? Because she tries to persuade her teacher that why she is into too much of talking. Right? Now, question number 4. Which phrase would correctly substitute ramble on? Ramble on means talking foolishly. So, if you have written something near it also, you will be given marks by CBSE. Right? Now, I move on to question number 7. He stalks in his vivid stripes on the few steps of his cage, and the question first says, explain the contrast created by the word stalks and few. Okay, and here stalks means to pursue fiercely and few steps means restricted movement, right? And which of the following best describe the tiger's feeling? So naturally tiger's feeling will be A only, anger. And from where do we get this answer? Quite rage. And the word rage means what? Anger only, right? Now we come to the next question. Yeah. The next question says, comment in 40 words on the poet's use of imagery in the above extract. Yes, the entire poetry has very nicely used imagery. Why? Because it is giving you a detailed description of the slow walk of the tiger using words like stalking. The readers feel the softness of his paw with reference to the softness of velvet. His bright color is also described through imagery. So I hope you must have written all these points in your answer. Now coming to the next last part, which word in the stanza means clear and bright? And your answer to this is vivid. Okay, now I come to the B part, which was given to you as option, and this is from the ball poem. When does the poet say that no one buys a ball back? And the answer to this is that in which context? And the context is that no one can buy something that is lost forever. And thing, of course, in this particular context is the ball which the little boy has lost. Okay. Then the next question is, the lines from the poem tells us that the boy is experiencing, and answer is A, distress. Okay. Now third one is, what is the significance of the term desperate used to describe the boy's eyes in the poem? And your answer is, it describes the sadness of the boy. And we have already discussed in detail that why the boy is sad, because the answer carries 2 marks. I hope all of you have explained that why is the boy so sad and what is the overall mood and tone of the poetry. Because the boy is sad and therefore the poem's tone is also a little bit depressed, because the poet wants to make the readers feel the sadness and the depression felt by the boy on losing the ball. Okay, so this answer should have been answered also in 40 words because it carries 2 marks. Part 4, identify and discuss the poet's use of metaphor. Okay, in the poem, and here of course the metaphor is that balls signify losses that the boy has to face. Okay, now we come to question number 8, where you had to answer any 4 of the following in 40 to 50 words. First is, explain the irony in the chapter A Letter to God. Okay, so we can say that the biggest irony of the story is that the postmaster and his staff show empathy and collect money for Lencho, who calls them a bunch of crooks. So that means the people who helped him were tagged as bunch of crooks by Lencho. Okay, so this is the biggest irony of the story. And then come to the next part. During our childhood in Goa, the baker used to be our friend. What does this statement imply? The relation to the character of the baker? Yes, because he himself mentions that baker used to be the friends. So your focus of this answer should have been how the baker was a friend of the narrator. Fine. So what will you write here? That yes, they were friends, philosophers and guides. This is because they were amazing friend of the society. They were loved by all and they were friends with everyone. Everyone would love their loaves, bread, and the children used to get specially excited at the arrival of the baker. Right? Now, third part, it is an attitude towards a situation that makes it positive or negative. Do you agree with it? And the chapter they are asking you to connect is Dust of Snow. So, naturally, the poet in the poem was in a sorrowful mood, but the falling of the dust of snow on him changes his bitter mood into more optimistic one. And this is what the theme of the poetry is. At times, small insignificant incidents in life make us change our mood from negative to positive. So I hope everyone has done justice to the question by writing these value points. Now we come to the next part 4. Belinda and her animals have been described as brave, but on seeing the pirate, they behaved in a cowardly manner. Yes, So naturally, Belinda and her other pets, who previously described themselves as brave, reacted in a very cowardly manner at the arrival of the pirate. And how did Belinda react? She turned pale and cried for help. Mustard ran away barking fearfully. Ink went into the bottom of the house, and the little mouse ran into his hole in no time. So these are the details which the answer required. So I hope everyone has written these details in the answer. Now we come to the next one. Flying is a natural act in birds. Then why was the young seagull exhausted by the strange exercise? And yes, the answer to this, because he used to make excuses for not flying. And he felt certain that his wings were too weak to support him. And therefore, he had no courage to flap his wings, and he failed to muster up courage to take the plunge. Okay, so here we end up discussing question number 8, all the parts. Now we come to question number 9. Question number 9, you have to answer any 2 out of the 3 questions, and the word limit is of course 40 to 50, carrying 3 marks each. Okay, and the first question says, do you think Bholi could have confidently refused to marry Bishambar if she wasn't educated? Yes. The chapter's turning point is when Bholi gets up and refuses Bishambar Das, saying that she will not marry the man who asks for dowry. So that positiveness and that confidence comes in Bholi only because she got self-esteem after getting educated. So had she not been educated, she would not have that courage. So education transformed her. So I hope everyone must have written the answer like this, that how education played a pivotal role in the transformation of Bholi. From Bholi, she became Sulekha. So her identity was realized only after she got confident on receiving education. Right? And now coming to second part, who was Henry? What role did he play in Ozubel's plan? Of course, now see, Henry is a very minor character in the story. And Henry is the waiter who came and knocked on the door when Ozubel was expecting that he would be coming to take the order. But how nicely had Ozubel interpreted? He interpreted that police was at the door to catch hold of Max. So this turn of event which was manipulated by Ozubel is possible only at the arrival of Henry. So therefore Henry, though he plays a very minute role in the whole plot of the story, his arrival plays a significant role, and therefore his plan gets successful. So you should have been asking written in your answer that who was Henry and what role did he play in Ozubel's plan. You will say Ozubel's plan became successful only when Henry arrived. Okay, now Richie was my whole life after his father died, said Richard's mother. Did Richard Ebright's relationship was with his mother? What type of relationship did he have? So your focus should have been how mother considered Richard Ebright to be her sole possession. Okay, and what all did she do to make Richard reach the heights of success? Today he is a scientist not because he himself had worked hard. It is because of the efforts made by his mother. So unless and until his mother had made those efforts, Richard Ebright would not have made a name in the field of science. So the sacrifices and the efforts made by his mother should have been written in this answer, right? Now we come to question number 10. Answer any one of the following question in 100 to. This is a long answer question. So as discussed earlier, you should have written in 3 paragraphs with introduction, then references from the text, and finally a conclusion. So Vali was a sensitive, but at the same time she was fearless. So what all did you write here? Comparing the character with some other one from 2 stories about flying. Okay, so I'm simply giving you the pointers which you could have mentioned. So Anne Frank and Vali could be discussed. Both have no playmates. They don't want to express their secrecy. How Vali alone planned the bus ride and how Anne Frank spent many years in the small room. Fine. So likewise, they had some similarities. Then Anne Frank's relation with friends would be like teachers and sister, whereas Natalia's relation with a neighbor, Lomo, materialistic, based on false manifestation, would be the highlight of your part B. Why? Because here we are comparing 2 people, and who are those? Anne Frank and Natalia. Don't forget that both of them are totally contrast when it comes to character traits. Natalia is a very materialistic girl. Okay, and therefore she didn't want to lose the chance of marrying Lomo. Why? Because she knew Lomo was a very rich landlord. Whereas Anne Frank is a very different girl. She is no doubt mature, but her perspective towards life is very different from Natalia. So this is what you needed to explain in your answer. Fine. Now we come to question number 11. Griffin's brilliance as a man of science fades before his darker traits. Yes, this question we have already done so many times. CBSE has only played with the words, manipulated the words, but your answer to this question was based on the same question that Griffin was a lawless scientist. So you had to prove what all did he do. And his brilliance as a man of science fades before his dark traits, as he was really a very good scientist. And what was his discovery? You already know that he had discovered a medicine that can make a man invisible. But instead of using his brilliance in science for the good of people, what did he do? He had harmed the people, like he had killed the shopkeeper. So in detail, you could have written what all did he do, which instead of making him a man of brilliance, made him a black character. Fine. And now B part is about Ruskin Bond's harassing. He knew it, neither his lips nor his eyes showed anything. So Anil successfully addressed the situation by not addressing it. Elaborate based on the thief story. So here the focus is not on Hari Singh but on Anil. No, why? Because Anil had addressed the situation by not addressing it. See the very wonderfully beautiful given line that Anil did not scold the little boy for stealing his money. So he knew that if he again scolds him and gives him to the police, what will happen? He will remain a die-hard criminal and he will never transform. So, and he knew that it was his love and compassion only which could transform Hari Singh. And that is exactly what happened. Hari Singh came back to Anil and he could not run away from the love showered by Anil. Okay, so these were the lines which you needed to write, and of course with good introduction and good conclusion with the evidences from the story. So that is the end of the discussion of your set. I hope everyone must have done very well. Okay, all the best, dear students. God bless you all.